following is an exclusive presentation of the Yes Network.
On this edition of What's It Worth, this guest's grandfather played for Newt Rockne and alongside George Gipp on a legendary Notre Dame team. Does a pendant commemorating that championship team live up to its legacy? We'll check out a tribute to Yankee perfection and a baseball signed by New York basketball champions. This lovable Brooklyn Dodgers bat boy of the 1950s could never have imagined the impact he would have on collectors today. New York Yankee catcher Yogi Berra had a legendary career and the one-of-a-kind memorabilia that comes with it. We'll visit the home of a New York Giants collector and see how his loyalty will always be true to Big Blue. It's all next on Yes Network's What's It Worth? Welcome to What's It Worth, the Yes Network Sports Memorabilia Show. I'm Andrea Joyce. What's It Worth is the show where viewers like you tell us about their sports collectibles. We invite them on our show to hear the stories behind their items, and we in turn let them know how much their collectibles are worth. And joining me to help us put a value on these wonderful sports collectibles is John Brigandi from Brigandi Coin Company, a memorabilia dealer from New York City. Welcome.
Great to be here.
It is good to be here. Me too. Let's go and get started. All right. Our first guest is Kevin Williams from Madison, New Jersey. And Kevin, we understand that your grandfather, Joe Brandi, played college football for the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. He played alongside the Gipper, George Gipp, and was also coached by the legendary Newt Rockne. Tell us more about your grandfather, as if that isn't enough. That's so cool.
Well, he played for Notre Dame from 1917 to 1920. He didn't play in 1918, and we think that was because of World War I. But he was the quarterback, and George Gipp was his halfback, and obviously Newt Rockne was his coach. And this piece here was handed down to my mom from him, and then subsequently to me. It's from the 1919 Notre Dame Western Champions team. It's a gold football pendant. It has his name engraved on it, as well as Western Champions hand engraved on it, and also the score of the Notre Dame West Point game of that year of 12-9, Notre Dame 12. West
and
Point
we're
9.
Not sure, though, what the significance is of that game, though.
No, we're not, because that particular game took place in the middle of the season that year. Notre Dame was 9-0 that year, and why they're Western champions, I'm not exactly quite sure at that time, but the game itself that's engraved on the pendant is, in fact, took place in the middle of the year.
And can you point some of these guys out on this picture?
Yeah,
this is a great photograph.
My grandfather, Joe Brandi, is third in from the right on the sitting row here. And George Gipp would be the tallest gentleman here, third in from the left on the top row. And, of course, Newt Rockne would be the coach over here.
And your grandfather had a perfect name, I think, for playing football. Joe Brandi. Doesn't that sounds almost like an actor's name?
Yeah.
This is an amazing pendant, but I'm not sure. Have you ever seen anything like that?
Well, these type of pendants were probably given to all the players, and it looks like this one was made into a charm of some sort. So a young lady of his, maybe his girlfriend, maybe his wife, either wore it on a charm bracelet perhaps, or maybe around the neck. It looks like it's 14-karat gold, certainly gold, and nice engraving and the nice enameling of Notre Dame in gold and blue, which I like. Value on something like this would be worth $3,000 to $4,000. Interestingly, the photo, if it were the original photo, which is generally in a larger format, is probably actually worth more than that. The photo, very highly collectible Notre Dame photos, sell in the range of $3,000 to $4,000 or $5,000.
And something like this, a college item, I would think, Notre Dame fans are so rabid, you might find that would even go up. That's like a seller's market on something like that, right?
That's right. High upside value, because there's always Notre Dame collectors out there bidding against one another in auctions. So these are really...
Philbin will give you $1 million for that.
This is an auction item for sure, and let the Notre Dame enthusiasts fight over it.
All right, Kevin, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Great item.
Thanks.
Many times collectors look for that perfect piece of sports memorabilia, but in the case of Tony Apuzzi from the Bronx, New York, the items he has brought in today are associated with perfect games, and in the eyes of most New York basketball fans, the perfect team. Welcome, Tony. Why don't you tell us what you brought with you?
Okay, well, the first piece I brought with me is kind of a tribute to the three pitchers who have pitched perfect games for the Yankees, David Cohn, David Wells, and Don Larson. It also contains unused game tickets from Cohn and Wells' perfect games. The second piece is a 1973 Nick baseball.
Nick baseball. This
Yes.
is, do not adjust the sound on your set.
Yes,
You said
exactly.
exactly what you meant to say. You got the Knicks to sign a baseball. Tell me who's on the ball and why you asked them to sign a baseball and not a basketball?
It's signed by the five starters, Walt Frazier, Dave DeBusschere, Earl Monroe, Bill Bradley, and I forgot who the fifth one is.
I'm seeing Willis Reed. Did you mention
Willis
Willis
Reed
Reed? That
was,
was the other one. How can we
Willis
forget
Reed.
Willis Reed?
Anyway, the reason why I put it on a baseball was because when I started collecting, someone told me that the rarer the item, the more valuable it would be. So I actually decided to start putting everything on baseballs. So I have an apartment full of actors, actresses, football players, basketball players, hockey players, all on baseballs. And the third piece is just a baseball that's signed by 17 current baseball Hall of Famers, and it includes Sandy Koufax, Yogi Berra, and Whitey Ford, as well as a host of others.
John, it's all yours.
We'll get right into the Hall of Fame ball first. I think it's 17 or 18 Hall of Famers, and
Yeah.
I guess every time you meet a Hall of Famer, baseball player that is, you put them on the baseball.
Yes.
So Hall of Fame baseballs, multiple signed Hall of Fame baseballs are highly collectible. This one with Koufax and others is worth about $300 to $350. This is the first New York Knicks championship baseball I've encountered in all these years, but it is interesting.
But do you think it's worth more? I mean, do
no,
you
I
think
think
he got the right advice that if it's rare, it's worth more? I mean, is that worth more, or would it be worth more if they were on a basketball, actually?
I think they're worth the same. I don't think that they're actually, it's actually worth any less. Baseballs with different people on them, celebrities and what have you, are very highly collectible. That is true information. In this particular one, I personally would rather have the basketball. However, people do collect these in the baseball collecting world. As for this nice ensemble of the three perfect game pitchers, the most expensive part of the collage are the two full ticket stubs, full tickets, I should say, to the two perfect games, Cohn's and Wells. They're each worth approximately $200 a piece. And of course, the photographs signed by them are worth approximately about $100 a piece, making this piece totally worth approximately $750. It would be interesting. You might want to get the two tickets signed by the two players as well at some point.
I was actually trying to do that, but I actually spent more time trying to find the Larson perfect game ticket.
That's a tough ticket. You won't find a full ticket. If you do, you'll pay upwards of $5,000 for the full ticket. You will find the stub, and the stub is worth approximately $500 to $600 a piece. That's doable.
Very
Good
nice.
ideas. Thanks, Tony. Thanks for bringing the stuff in.
Thank you very much.
When What's It Worth continues, we'll meet a collector who has a giant-sized interest in Big Blue. And we'll hear the story of a father's friendship with a Brooklyn Dodgers bat boy from the 1950s.
Hi, my name is Tony Bruno, and I'm a lifelong Giants fan who's into collecting just about everything on or about the New York Giants. This is the program from the Giants' last game at Yankee Stadium, and the next program is their first game at the Yale Bowl back in 1973. The programs are really special. I got them out of the Midwest about 10 or 11 years ago from a dealer, and what really made this collection so special to me was that obviously the person who put this collection together was a huge Giants fan who probably attended all the games, and not only attended the games but collected the programs and had the ticket stub or the ticket from that game neatly tucked into each program. I started collecting memorabilia back in 1975 when my son was born. I wanted to share with him some of my enjoyment of watching Giants play over the years. About a year ago, I was able to collect a complete run of the Giants News Weekly. The first edition came out on April 13th, 1981, and includes a picture, which is probably the first picture of Chris Sims in a professional publication. Over the years, collecting all sorts of memorabilia, everything from Giants paper towels, which was issued a few years ago, to an ice cream carton, pencil sharpeners, light fixtures, whatever. Anything Giants. One of the things I've really enjoyed collecting over the years has been books on or about the New York Giants. And perhaps the most special book I have in my entire collection is a book by Andy Robustelli called Once a Giant, Always. And he not only sent me the book, but has a nice inscription, and it reads, "To Anthony Bruno, with my very best wishes and regards." My collection is not only a pastime, but it's a way for me to relax and take time away from a stressful job. Collecting memorabilia is really about the memories that you want to rekindle about better teams, some of the players, exciting games, moments that you really want to just freeze for a moment in time and enjoy.
After winning the World Series in 1955, discussions started for the Brooklyn Dodgers to make an exhibition tour of Japan. After defending their National League championship in 1956 but losing the World Series to the Yankees, the Dodgers did travel to Japan in October 1956. Our next guests are Bill Calderone and his brother John from Long Island, and they have brought in a program from that Dodgers tour of Japan, but it is the story behind how they acquired that program that is as fascinating as the program itself. You guys have to tell us the story about your dad and his friendship with a very special bat boy.
Absolutely. Right. As you know, this came from Japan. My dad was good friends with this Brooklyn Dodger bat boy, Charlie DiGiovanna. And
They called him the Brow, right?
they called him the Brow. Unfortunately, he passed away at an early age, and he brought this back for my dad along with photo albums and letters, and they were very good friends, and this is something that we wanted
And
to bring
these
to the
guys,
show.
they just, your dad and the Brow kind of just knew each other from the neighborhood.
From East New York,
And
right.
what was his story? I mean, you know, we've got a picture of him here. How did he ever become a bat boy? I mean, that's interesting in and of itself.
Well, the story my dad always told me was Charlie was born with a bad heart, and he wrote a letter to the Dodgers when he was a teenager. He was in and out of hospitals his whole teenage life. And Leo DeRocha came to visit him, and Leo took a real liking to him. And as he offered him a job. He started out on the bottom and worked his way up through the clubhouse. And the players ended up loving him, and it seemed like everyone who met him loved him.
And you've got this great program, but the other interesting thing, too, John, I think, you know, the photos, but then you've got these letters. I mean, some of the things that this Charlie guy did, you know, what did that one letter say? He signed baseballs for the players?
That was normal. It was a normal thing that a lot of people, I'm sure collectors are aware of, but a lot of just regular people are not aware
John,
of.
you see that all the time, right, where secretaries would sign baseballs.
Clubhouse guys. Mm-hmm.
Clubhouse guys, and so he was the clubhouse guy who signed a lot of the balls.
He's known in baseball collecting lore as Charlie the Brow, and he signed a good majority of Brooklyn Dodger team balls.
How much fun is it for you to see this stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, this really is history, you know, of you know, one person and their experiences. It's really terrific.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's not worth a lot, but to a Brooklyn Dodger collector, I think it would be worth significantly more.
And what about this picture right here? What can you guys tell me about this one right here?
Well, this is, of course, Jackie Robinson and Gil Hodges. And this is former middleweight champion of the world, Joey Giardello, who was a champion during the 1960s. Carl Fiorella. And this is Charlie DiGiovanna himself, the Brown.
All right, now, as John mentioned, maybe not a lot of value out here, but let's just talk about the program. I mean, that's so unique. I've never seen anything like that. Can you put a price on that?
I could put a price on it. It's probably not
one
much.
that anybody wants to hear, but...
Well, the condition isn't great in it. It's probably worth about $50. The teams, the New York Giants, for example, went to Japan in 1954. The Dodgers went in '56. The Yankees went in '55. And there was a all-star game that went around in 1952 to Japan. So the 50s were a busy time to open up baseball to the Far East. Yeah.
Anybody ever make a movie about this guy?
They should.
They should,
Oh,
right.
now that's
yes.
where our money is, right? Hey, guys, thanks a lot for
Thank
bringing
you.
this up.
Thank
It's
you.
really terrific.
Nice to meet you.
When What's It Worth continues, Yogi Berra walks us through his prized memorabilia. And we'll hear how a college friendship led to a meeting with a baseball legend. the World Series, nobody has won more championships, nobody has had more at-bats or gotten more hits than Yogi Berra. And from 1946 to 1963, he was the heart and soul of the Yankees. Recently, Yogi showed us his prized possessions from those glory years.
Larson looks in. Here comes the pitch. Strike three. A no-hitter. A perfect game for Don Larson.
This is the glove I caught the no-hitter on Don Larson here. You notice he's got a lot of holes in it, and he's got sewed up a lot there and there. I like to use an old glove.
Of all the items on display at the Yogi Berra Museum and Learning Center in Montclair, New Jersey, this is the piece that means the most to Yogi.
I got the glove bronze there, and I cherished that. You know, I had our clubhouse man, Big Pete, and I said, could you have the glove bronze for me? And he did it for me, and I've had it ever since.
In Yogi's era, there was no memorabilia craze, not even an inkling that game-used objects had any value. Yet in 2002, Larson auctioned off the hat, spikes, and glove he wore during the perfect game, as well as the ball Yogi handed him after the final pitch. The winning bid, more than $120,000.
He got it from me. I gave it to him. Like a stupid, dumb, I should have kept it. Whoever thought it was going to be worth something. Well, he deserves it. He pitched a no-hitter. Only one that happened in the World Series, and a perfect one at that.
Growing up, Yogi had his favorite players and even had access to them.
Joe Meadows was my hero in St. Louis Cardinals. And I used to go work out with the Cardinals. I was happy just to see the ball play. I never asked for an autograph from anyone. That was a thrill to me, you know, but I never asked for an autograph. I wish I would have now.
And when he made it to the Bronx, even autographed baseballs from teammate Joe DiMaggio were no big deal.
He signed a few balls for him, but my kids played ball with it at that time. And for a few presidents, too. They played ball with it. My gosh, he could have got a lot of stuff. So we signed 5 dozen balls every day at the stadium. If you only knew then, you know now.
Even though Yogi played on 10 World Championship teams up until a few years ago, he only had 2 of the team's World Series rings.
Then actually on my rings, you know, we didn't always have to take a ring. And I kept the 1947 ring, and when we won 5 in a row, the 1953 ring. That's the only one I kept. And Mr. Steinbrenner came along, he said, we're going to give you all the rings that you played in all the World Series. Well, I didn't know I was going to be in that many. That's another thing. If I knew I was going to be in that many World Series, I would have had the heads cut off of the ring and made a bracelet for my wife. Well, I was happy. What the heck, that was fun. I'm very fortunate. I played 17 years and I was in 14 World Series, and we won 10 of them.
An amazing record and an amazing collection, recounting an amazing career.
Whoever thought I'd get in the Hall of Fame? A kid from St. Louis on the hill. I'm very happy at that, and I could be voted the most valuable player 3 times.
There have only been 2 World Series in history to end with a home run. Bill Mazeroski's home run to win the 1960 World Series for Pittsburgh, and Joe Carter's home run off Mitch Williams to win the World Series in 1993 for Toronto. And our next guest from Union County, New Jersey, Alan Gross, has an item commemorating that event. Tell us about it.
Well, I was always fascinated with the 93 World Series and the thought of a hero and a GOAT. And unfortunately, with every event like that, there is a hero and a GOAT, Mitch Williams.
So you have the Mitch Williams pitching rubber, but not necessarily from that game.
No, I picked up the pitching rubber at a store and saw him at a minor league baseball game, and he signed it for me. It was very nice to sign it for me.
And then what else do you have to put that together?
The ticket stub from Game 6 of the World Series and a postcard of Joe Carter wearing his Toronto Blue Jays uniform.
So when you look at that nice little collection, what do you think, John?
Well, it's a nice little collection. But, unfortunately, Mitch Williams is not in great demand in the collecting.
No?
No, not so much. I would say just the 3 pieces are maybe worth $100 to $150.
It's a nice little collection, though, as
Yeah.
we said. And tell us about the basketball now.
I was in grad school in Massachusetts, and a suite mate of mine, we were talking sports, and he said, well, I love Celtics basketball. I have one. If you want it, I'll sell it to you. And he wound up selling it to me, and when I saw it, I realized that this was a 1979-1980 Celtics basketball of the whole team.
And you have
Pete Maravich, who, and Larry Bird from his rookie year. And as far as I know, Pete Maravich generally, towards the end of his career, signed his name Pistol Pete. And here he signed his full name, which makes it, I think, a little more rare.
Okay, there you see it again. Pete Maravich. John?
Pete Maravich is very good. This is a great autograph. Generally, Pete Maravich autographs start at about $500 on something like this. It doesn't display great because it's starting to fade a little bit, but it's worth at least $500 the ball. Now, if you notice, there's a Larry Bird on the side, and that was Larry Bird as a rookie, so the ball has to be worth, even though the condition could be a little bit nicer, worth at least $500.
Okay, and the Wheaties box, I'm thinking, is not worth quite as much, but you thought this was very rare and quite special.
Yeah, certainly a moment in Olympic history, 1984, that one we all remember. And I was in an antique shop in West Virginia, and I said, I have to have it.
You don't have to have it, John, right?
$20.
These guys never liked the Wheaties boxes, you know? We've seen these Wheaties boxes before, and you guys never really are crazy about them. I think it's serial discrimination here, you know?
It may be, but in any case, it's worth $20.
All right,
we move on.
You've got some very personal items, though, too. These are all sort of related. The Ted Williams items.
Yeah, I was in grad school at Springfield College, and it was a summer session, and first day, it was a co-ed building. A girl walked right into the room and said, "You're in my room." And I was like, I don't know. We wound up being on the same floor, and lo and behold, we spent the whole night talking about sports, never asking a name. Next morning, I find out that it was Ted Williams' daughter, Claudia, and we wound up becoming friendly, and she said, if you want to meet my father, sure. And lo and behold, we were invited to Cooperstown. And
that's a picture of you with Ted Williams and Claudia, and then you got this other stuff because you guys were friends.
Yeah, it was a nice day, one that I'll never forget, a wonderful experience.
All right, so John, take us through this stuff. Not the personal photographs so much as the autographed baseballs and the pictures.
The autographed baseballs are worth about $250 to $300 a piece. This Ted Williams, the unpersonalized one, that's worth about $400 to $450, and the personalized one, is worth approximately $250.
Alan, thanks for bringing in this stuff.
Thank you very much.